Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to run through the modifications that I made to my 2014 CB500X. I didn't like the original mudguard that came with the bike. I thought it was too big and too fat and it didn't suit the profile of the bike. So I went with a higher one. It works better with the profile of the nose of the bike coming down onto the mudguard. I also wanted something that was higher up so that when I'm riding through muddy areas and stuff, that I don't have to worry about stuff getting stuck between the wheel and the mudguard. It's easy to clean, it's easy to maintain, and for me it works better. Footrest is really important when you're off-road. You're going to be spending a lot of time standing up, so you need something that's wide, that's going to be comfortable on the ball of your foot, that you can move around easily and change your position without having to worry about moving too far forward or backwards. It's too thin, like the stock ones, then they're going to start digging into the sole of your foot after a while, and they're going to get really, really uncomfortable. Also, you don't want anything with rubber on it. If it gets wet, either because the weather conditions or you go through water, they're going to get really slippery and it's really dangerous. So the wider the better, and it's going to make a big difference to your comfort off-road. I removed the chain guard so that I could clean the chain easier and I could get in behind where the suspension is and stuff and have access to cleaning the bike properly. There's a lot of mud and stuff builds up there. There's different laws in different countries about having a chain guard on, so before you do it, check that it's legal in your country. The pre-2019 models come with a 17-inch front wheel, which isn't a problem for an awful lot of riding, to be honest with you. I've gone over bog roads, gravel roads, over rocky terrains and stuff with the 17-inch and it was perfectly fine. I did move up to the 19-inch simply because I bought the bike to do a bit more extreme off-roading and I was worried with a cast wheel that I might break it. And also I did see that I was going to be riding in a lot more ruts and trying to get over bigger obstacles, so that's why I moved up to the 19-inch. The newer models have the 19-inch. Would I change from a cast wheel to a spoked wheel? Probably not. There's very few issues with the cast wheel. There's a lot of theories about it, but to be honest, I would see how you get on before you go into the expense of replacing the wheels. So when I bought the bike, it had the Givi top box bracket on it. I actually ended up removing it when I first got the bike because I don't use top boxes. But I put it back on when I started using the tail bag for carrying camera gear and equipment. Because the tail bag I used to put on the seat and I wasn't able to get back far enough on the bike when I was going down hills and stuff. I kept hitting it and my body position wasn't right. So I put back on the top box holder and it works very well. There's a lot of debates on the internet about tires. I'm not going to get into that. I originally had the Continentals on the bike when I got the Rally Raid wheels. I didn't like them. The back used to fishtail quite a bit and the front washed out a lot of times on me. So I changed to the Michelin Anarchy Wiles and I have to say it's made a huge difference. The control and the feel of the bike is much better. They are very, very much so off-road orientated, so you're going to lose some of your comfort on-road. But for off-road, it's a bit of a game changer for me. I've ridden them in the mud, I've ridden them in rocks, everything you can think of, and I really, really like them. This one is nearly worn out. I'll be replacing it with another one. The big problem I had with the bike originally was there was an awful lot of dirt and mud thrown up onto the radiator and it was just getting clogged and there was no air able to get into it. So having a protector on it has reduced the amount of dirt and everything getting into it. It also protects from stones and stuff. So regardless of whether you're modifying the wheels or the mud guards, I would get the radiator protector. There's a lot of different manufacturers, so they're not particularly expensive. I'm not sure one is any better than the other. So, but it is an important modification to protect your bike. The hydraulic clutch has been a bit of a game changer. I was a bit unsure about it because it's a very expensive modification to make to the bike, but it means that I can ride the bike standing up for hours on end and I don't have that feeling in my fingers and stuff of the aching and even after long days on the bike. And also for my throttle control, I can now use the clutch for feathering. It's so much easier to get the sensitivity right. If you're doing a lot of off-road riding, I would recommend getting a hydraulic clutch. If you don't, I wouldn't bother. It's going to be an expensive upgrade that you're probably not going to see the benefits out of. For the engine guard, I went with the Rally Raid option. I had my reservations about it, but the thing that swung it for me was the fact that the Rally Raid one actually goes onto the frame of the bike and not onto the engine. Two of the downsides is if you're using the Rally Raid one, you have to get rid of the center stand. And also, it doesn't protect the pipes here at the front, which was a concern to me, but to be honest, I've treated the bike fairly badly over the last 12 months, and there isn't a single mark on the pipes in the front. It works well. I've got a lot of belts on the bike. There's a lot of damage done to the bars, and they're holding up pretty well. Fitting the bark busters is a bit of a no-brainer. I hadn't had them before, but I'm really happy with them. They protect your hands from trees and branches when you're going through heavy growth areas or through woods, and also they'll protect the levers from snapping. So if you're like me and you drop the bike a lot, they're going to save you from having to keep purchasing new levers and stuff. Yeah, so well worth it. I definitely get the bark busters. At the moment I just have one mirror on the bike, and it bends in every single direction that I want it to bend in. It's pretty cheap, pretty cheerful. I can fold it away. It goes quite low, and you want something that if it gets a knock, it's not going to break. When I bought the bike, they had the Givi crash bars already fitted. They work pretty well. There's a lot of scratches on them. There's no damage to the surrounding areas of the bike. They're onto the frame of the bike, which is important because anything that's attached onto the engine just gets knocked. If you do damage the engine mountings, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to be expensive to fix. Also, there's plenty of areas to grab onto. So if the bike does go over or you just want to move it, there's plenty of places here that you can hold on to for pulling the bike back up, which is important. The windshield, I got the lowest possible profile one that I could. I got a darkened one just because I think it looks better. The reason I don't like tall windshields is because when I'm off-road, I want to be able to see down, and I want to see the front of the bike as much as possible to know what's in front of me at all times. I don't like having anything that's going to distract me. If I have to stop suddenly or anything, or the bike starts to skid and I go forward like this, I don't have anything I'm going to slam off of. I have my phone holder, which I don't use very often when I'm riding in Ireland. I do when I'm abroad or following particular routes and stuff that are off-road. This is my drone holder. It's for the controller for the drone. Again, it's easy to take off, but I just leave it on the bike. So under here I have a twin USB charger. I have it wired so that it'll only come on when the ignition is turned on. And that way, if I do forget to plug something out, it's not going to drain the battery when I get back to the bike. Fitting the tail tidy kit just cleans up the back of the bike. I just felt that the original tail light and license plate holder were just sticking out too far. I was going to snag in too many things, and it really just didn't like the way they looked on the bike. So the tail tidy kit, it's a very good kit. It's easy to fit, and I just think it tidies up the back of the bike very nicely. So on the bars, I've fitted an ABS on-off switch. So when I go off-road, I like to be able to turn off the ABS, especially at the back. I do not like the feeling of going down slippery sections and stuff and you're pressing the back brake and nothing is happening. Now, the handy thing about the CB500X is when you turn off the ABS, you get the warning light on the bike, and then when you turn it back on, the light goes off again. So when you do go back on road, as soon as you look at the dash, you can see that the ABS is off, and you just simply switch it back on. There's no need to do anything else. I fitted the level 2 suspension kit from Rally Raid. It's a bit of a game changer on the bike. Even with the 17-inch front wheel, it raised the profile of the bike about 2.5 inches, so I got a lot more ground clearance. When you order the suspension kit, you will put in some rough calculations based on your height and your weight and stuff like that, but to be honest, that is only a general setting. You really do need to get that modified again by a specialist. The Tractive suspension kit for the bike comes with two options for adjusting the suspension. There is this one here, which to be honest with you, once it's set up, you probably do not need to adjust. And then there is the option of the one up towards the front. So this is the second adjustment lever. It's really easy, you just twist it. So if you want quick adjustment, you're either bringing a lot of gear with you on a big trip or you're carrying a pillion with you. It's easy to adjust, and it's also easy to put back to the original settings. So what I would do is put a mark on it so that once your suspension is set up, you can easily put it back to that settings once you're either back on your own or you're no longer carrying a lot of gear with you. It's really fast, there's no tools required, and it's well worth it. Suspension is a bit of a dark art. You guys think they know about it, and you guys actually know about it. Bring it to somebody that is a specialist that deals in suspension, because it is a game changer when it's set up correctly for you. For me, one of the main issues on the original bike was the exhaust. It was quite low and it stuck out an awful lot. It was the widest part of the bike, and the potential for getting snagged and caught in things was huge. I went with the rally raid option simply because it was the highest mounting one that I could find. To be honest, it's probably a bit extreme, but I really just don't want to be thinking about water getting into it or anything like that. So for me, the higher the better. They don't actually seem to be offering this model at the moment, but I'm sure if you contact Rally Raid and there's enough interest in it, they will start making them again. So the original exhaust came out to about here, and you can see that this one is not only is it higher up, but it's also in tighter, closer to the frame of the bike. So I know if my foot pegs get through anything, then the rest of the bike is going to follow as well. Okay guys, I hope the information that I've given you is useful. If I was only to make one modification to this bike, it would be without a doubt the suspension. I do appreciate it's one of the more expensive modifications that you can do, but it has completely changed the handling of the bike and where I can take the bike, and it has turned it into the bike that I wanted it to be. I used the Rally Raid, which also increased the ground clearance of the bike. So even with the 17-inch wheel, just change the suspension and see how you get on. Okay guys, if you have any questions about anything that I've done to the bike or anything that you have done to your own bike which is different, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. I'll answer any questions to the best of my ability. I'm not an expert. I like riding bikes. That's about it. I'm an enthusiast, not an expert. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.